Guys, the Detroit Red Wings, as of this morning, are no longer in the playoffs. They did nothing at the deadline, which some said was good, some said was bad. But if you look at Detroit's last 10, 4 of 6, and I believe of that last 10, they've lost, I think it's 7 of 8 or 6 of 8. So not great.
They cannot slip right now because it's not one team chasing them. It's at least 3.
So you got the Sabres, the Caps, and the Islanders. I think the Islanders are the odds-on favorite, and the Islanders have a game in hand, which is why they're ahead of them in the wild card, because they're tied at 72 points.
It's disappointing to me that we didn't include New Jersey in there, even though they have a game in hand on Buffalo and they're only one.
No, New Jersey, their white towel is out. Like they're not.
Well, I have something to talk about with New Jersey later in the show, but it isn't playoffs. And listen, if they make it, good for them. But I'm as of game 65 or 66, depending upon what market you live in, they're not in the picture, and they probably won't be.
The Isles are all of a sudden hot. Detroit all of a sudden stinks and has lost 6 straight. So the Capitals got better, and the Sabres are still in the fight.
So what do we talk about when we talk about the Detroit Red Wings? Like, because here's the thing, the moves this offseason, to me.
This upcoming?
No, this past.
This past.
Were a signal that Detroit ownership was done waiting. I think that
it's kind of been the past few years.
No, but they're done waiting.
Yeah.
They want to be in the playoffs now. Yzerman's coming up on this is going to be, I think, at the completion of the season. Is this not going to be year 5 as general manager of the Detroit Red Wings?
He has not been there a short amount of time.
And so if you're the Ilitch family and you have this brand new, beautiful arena that everybody says is the best in the league, you probably want to see some playoff games in it. Now, so far this year, it's worked out okay for them. They've had a good season. They've been strong. They've had, a couple of their free agent acquisitions, specifically Justin Hall, and that one obviously rings a little bit heavier in Toronto because of our history with him. Mm-hmm. Didn't work out, and they were trying to move him, and they'll probably move him in the offseason because who couldn't use a right-shot defenseman who's overpaid? Great guy, though. I would say this. The Detroit Red Wings are about where I think everybody thought they should be right now. Fighting for a wild card spot. When we talked about them on July 1st, they made a bunch of acquisitions. But my question at the time was, are they legitimately that much better? Is JT Compher at that price? Is Justin Hall at that price? Are those the guys? I like the David Perron acquisition. There were certain things about the team you're like, okay, I can see it. But when they were hot mid-season, right? Like they climbed right up there. I think they were ahead of the league
early. Yeah,
they were
not just mid-season. Like they started off as one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. And then your question is very interesting because I think that's the main one here is what we're seeing now and where they've regressed to the true Red Wings, or is it what they played towards the beginning of the season?
I think if I'm a fan, I don't know about a player, but if I'm a fan, I kind of wish management did something to reward this team that's actually done pretty well and clearly taken a step this season. At the deadline, they made one trade. They got rid of Klim Kostin for Radim Simek and a 2024 7th.
Mm-hmm. But it would have been the wrong move based on how they've played now. If Yzerman went out and bought at the deadline, that would have been the incorrect thing to do.
Yeah, I guess the thought is, well, maybe you do something and it stops the bleeding, or I don't know. I'm trying to look at this as someone who is cheering for the team to win.
Sure.
I think if you're cheering for the Red Wings and you watch this 0-6 stretch, you saw a team that has completely fallen apart without Dylan Larkin. And it reminds me a lot of what's happened with the New Jersey Devils, where they lost Dougie Hamilton and it destroyed their entire back end and their ability to do anything on the power play or offensively or defensively. Just every regard of their team, Dougie Hamilton not having him ruined it, and along with their goaltending. But with the Red Wings, their compete's gone. Like they're not in these games where they should be. They're fighting for a playoff spot for their lives, and not having Dylan Larkin in the lineup for the last 2 weeks-ish has destroyed them. And if you're that weak where one player completely ruins your team, I think there's a lot more problems is what I'm trying to get to.
And sometimes this happens, and Red Wings fans will relate to this. Sometimes God hates you. And that's what I thought last night when Joe Veleno took a puck to the head. I was just like, okay, God hates the Red Wings right now. Like nothing's going right for these poor guys. He got dinged. It looked scary for a bit. I ended up switching to, I don't remember which game it was because life is a hurricane and I don't remember anything right now. But I didn't see if he returned to the game.
I could see our buddies over at Winged Wheel saying like maybe it's time to shake up the lineup a little bit. And
Red Wings fans are like pretty level-headed about what they are. You know, so I'm talking.
Yeah,
about
like I don't see any Red Wings fans like claiming in the summer that they're going to win the cup. Like,
Nope.
never once actually.
But they thought they were a playoff team up until this point. And I think that was a fair assessment of the team. And it sucks to see them completely fall off and not have any, not be competitive.
That was my complaint with the 2017 Leafs when, they were this ragtag bunch of rookies and they hit a bit of a snag down the stretch and it looked like they might miss the playoffs. And yeah, but it's the first year of like Austin Matthews and all these rookies. I'm like, yeah, but they had this spot for months and they're about to choke.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem here. It's not that it would have been different if they were down in the standings and they fought their way up to this point.
Yes.
Then we're talking about them like Minnesota.
Exactly.
It's the fact that you were there all from the that first week of the season. We heard from Red Wings fans being like, "What the fuck are you doing in your previews? Look at them go!" And all season long, that's sustained. So to see them just completely crap the bed at this point, it's got to be disappointing.
Yep.
I think we underrate, and it's maybe something we should look at when it comes to our season previews. We underrate how important a team's farm team is. I'm not saying Detroit's is a bad one. I'm just saying every team, like there's so little between these guys, like through 32 teams in the league. Teams that have the best farm systems, they call these guys up and they plug holes. They stop the boat from sinking at very least. Even if you take on water, it's like, all right, Hurdle's going to come back and we'll get the bucket in there and we'll start dumping it out. And Shea Theodore's back. And now Mark Stone's overboard. And quick, plug Byron Fraze in there. It's a dance.
I think of Logan Stankoven over in Dallas, where it's just, hey, in February, we get to plug this guy into the lineup and he can go on a heater for 3 games. And he's kind of tailed off recently, but you get that.
Best trade deadline acquisition, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Possibly. And he looks so funny. He looks really he's just visually hilarious.
Because he's tiny?
Yeah, because the stars are huge and he's just a little guy.
Little man
Just a little guy who goes in there and snipes on everybody.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about the other side of this. We've talked a lot about Detroit. And what do we always say about the Islanders? If they get into the playoffs,
you don't want to play them.
they're a tough out. Can you imagine if the playoffs started today, a Florida-New York Islanders series?
Oh, that'd be fun.
Now, I want to run you through some of the Islanders lines in case you are not an Islanders fan and have not been paying attention. Nelson, Horvat, Barzal, Lee, Pajot, Palmieri, Engvall, Cizikas, Holmstrom, and then, then you've got your, if they're gonna bring Matt Martin back, like if he's coming back in, if there's gonna be that, you can reunite the Cizikas Clutterbuck line, but Kyle McLean and Hudson Fasching are still in there. But here's their defense: Pelech, Dobson, Romanov, Pollock, Riley, Sebastian Aho, the other.
Morgan?
No. And then
Mike M. Riley.
And here's the thing:
the other M. Riley.
If one goalie's bad, you have the other goalie, Sorokin and Varlamov.
For a cap league that has such a ridiculous amount of turnover, how are the Islanders virtually the same every year for like half a decade? There's so little turnover on that roster. It's crazy.
Well, everybody signed to a 7-year deal.
Well, there's that.
That helps.
But like most of those deals, you're not like, yeah, that stinks. Engvall. He scored the other night. Neat.
Scored against the Leafs, didn't he?
He did. He scored a game winner against the Leafs. I think he might be one behind Bobby McMahon now.
Had to be.
I gotta look.
My point is, this is not going to be an easy out team, and I'm not saying Florida doesn't beat them. I'm just saying I don't think Florida will enjoy this series if this happens. I think Florida would want Detroit much more than they'd want the Islanders.
Watching Florida, who plays playoff hockey like from September onward, take on Dallas yesterday was giving me flashbacks. It was just giving me flashbacks. Tampa, the Leafs would dilly-dally with the puck at the blue line against Tampa, and Tampa was like, go ahead, we don't give a shit. Like, have the puck back there. And the Leafs were not able to transition to the second round where Florida was like, bah! And like ran at you at the blue line like madmen.
Yeah, they couldn't handle it.
And it really screwed Dallas up. They didn't really have a very good chance in the final 2.5 minutes with the net empty.
I'm curious about. I want to know if the Islanders in Detroit play at all in the next little bit here, because that would
That's a
be
good question.
that'd be a cannot miss game.
Well,
I know Buffalo fans are like screaming because they have 2 games against Detroit. One was the one where they killed them. They got another one coming up. So there's 4 points on the stand you just take right away.
Well,
right?
Islanders in Buffalo tomorrow, so that's interesting.
Oh, there you go.
And then you've got the Islanders and Red Wings on Thursday, March 21st. And if things stay the same, and the Islanders have a mixed schedule, they got to play the Sabres, then the Senators, which you hope to beat the Sabres, you expect to beat the Senators, right?
Right.
You want to beat the Senators. Then you got to play the Rangers and Hurricanes, so 1 and 2 in the division,
got to get at least 2 points there.
and then Red Wings.
Oh,
That's
man.
a huge game. Wow.
That's another reason why you don't want to play them in the first round. Their playoffs have begun.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing I've seen, because since February 25th, the Islanders have they lead the league in PDO. So they 108% is their PDO.
Wow.
If your puck luck is normal, you're sitting at 100%. Just for anybody who doesn't know PDO, it's you're sitting around 100% is usually where teams are. That means the lucky bounces are going both ways, and you're kind of even.
108
If you're
is wildly
8% above that, that means things are going your way and you're getting lucky. But my response to that is always, if it's this point of the season, mid-March, and all you need to do is go through this thing through June, you can ride a PDO bender for 2 months. That's
hot.
perfectly fine. Like, this isn't like it's November and we're like, okay, they're gonna regress to the mean. No, if they get hot now, you can ride this. Florida did it last year, and if the Islanders just stay this hot, it's gonna be a thing. So watch out, that 108 might stay there.
I like this. I like this, the Islanders in this. I think this is fun.
100%.
Because 3-4 weeks ago, short memories in hockey, obviously, but 3-4 weeks ago, people were going, it's time for a change at the top. If they make the playoffs and they surprise and they get to the second round, Lou Lamoriello's a hero again.
3-4 weeks ago, the whole wild card picture sucked.
It's true. There was nothing.
Stunk. Like, teams are battling for like positioning and home ice, and this team might make it. Who cares? Boo. And now, like, we're talking about half a dozen teams who aren't in, who have a realistic shot of getting in.
Did you know that I think there's only one team that's fully eliminated from the playoffs?
Blackhawks.
That's right.
Who
Only one. Everybody else has a chance.
Thanks, Connor. Tuesday, and my fucking fantasy week's already over.
Why, what happened?
Because he got 5 friggin' points last night.